What if the chaos around you could no longer control the peace within you? Imagine walking through life with unwavering calm, even in the midst of a storm. Have you ever wondered why some people stay calm under pressure while others crumble? The answer lies not in their circumstances, but in their philosophy. There's a forgotten wisdom, older than empires yet more relevant than ever, that teaches you how to master your emotions and live powerfully, no matter what life throws at you. In the relentless flow of modern life, few adults escape the weight of pressure. We all secretly hope that one day someone will speak the thoughts and feelings we've carried for so long. That someone is Stoicism. Let me share with you the principles that can help you stay grounded amidst the chaos of the world out there. 10 Stoic Principles You'll wish you knew sooner. This video explores 10 transformative Stoic principles, each a stepping stone to becoming the unshakable, calm, and deeply fulfilled version of yourself. Number 1. Define a clear life purpose, your inner compass. Amidst life's storms, in a world spinning faster each day, notifications, expectations, comparison, pressure, it's no wonder so many people feel lost. Like ships set adrift in stormy seas, we sail from moment to moment without a direction, wondering why we feel so anxious, so hollow, so overwhelmed. But here's what Stoic philosophy reminds us. Without a clear purpose, even calm waters can drown you. Purpose is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. It's the compass that steadies your hand when the winds howl and the sky turns black. Imagine this. A sailor without a map is at the mercy of the waves. One storm and they're lost. But a sailor who knows where they're going, they can endure the storm. Not because it's easy, but because they have something worth enduring for. Stoicism calls us to define that something, but not in vague cliches or borrowed dreams. Not success or happiness as the world defines it, but something deeper, something that comes from within. Ask yourself, what am I here to serve? What is the quiet truth that has always lived inside me? Your purpose may not be loud, it may not impress the world, but it will anchor you. Because true purpose isn't chosen from a shelf. It's revealed in silence, in struggle, in stillness. Once you begin to walk in alignment with that truth, you'll find that the chaos around you loses its grip. You stop being pulled by every opinion, trend, or fear, and instead you begin to move from conviction. And make no mistake, living with purpose is not the easier path. In fact, it's the opposite. It requires discipline, devotion, and inner clarity. There will be days when the flame of purpose flickers, when self-doubt knocks, when others misunderstand you, when results don't come. But the Stoics remind us, purpose is not a feeling, it's a vow. A vow to show up, to walk your path with integrity, even when no one claps, even when the wind is cold, even when the storm roars louder than your courage. That's the beauty of a purpose deeply rooted in principle. It doesn't just guide you, it shapes you. It turns suffering into growth, silence into insight, and challenge into transformation. And once you've discovered that inner compass, your why, you'll never truly be lost again. Number 2, mastering. Emotional control, the lifelong art of mental discipline. How do we remain calm in a world that seems built to provoke us? From a careless comment to a betrayal, from traffic to heartbreak. From the mundane to the catastrophic, life never stops giving us reasons to react. But here's the key, you are not your reaction. Stoicism teaches us that the gap between stimulus and response is sacred. In that space lies the freedom to choose, not just what we do, but who we become. Emotions will come, that's part of being human. Even the great Stoics felt anger, grief, fear. But what made them wise was not the absence of emotion, it was their relationship to it. "It's not things that disturb us," said Epictetus, "but our judgments about things." Let that sink in. It's not the words. They're just sound. It's not the traffic. It's your story about it. It's not the setback. It's your interpretation that it means you're failing. So the work isn't outside. It's within. True emotional control begins with self-awareness. Not suppression, not pretending, but observing without attachment. Feeling the wave without drowning in it. And this is not learned in books. It's forged in the fire of real life. When someone offends you, pause. When fear arises, breathe. When anger surges, ask, what story am I believing right now? This practice is like training a wild horse. At first it bucks, it resists. But over time, with patience, honesty, and repetition, you build trust. You learn how to guide your emotions, not be governed by them. And slowly, you begin to live differently. You stop reacting to noise. You stop defending your ego at every turn. You stop being pulled by every tide. You become anchored. Because emotional discipline is not about being cold. It's about being centered. You'll still feel deeply, but you won't be easily shaken. You'll still care, but you won't be consumed. You'll still respond, but with intention, not impulse. And when the world asks, why aren't you reacting? You'll smile. It's a no, you've reclaimed your power. That's the quiet victory of Stoicism. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of self. Not the silence of the storm, but the stillness of the soul within it. Eventually, you'll realize that you don't need to suppress your emotions. You simply learn to lead them. This is what true freedom looks like. Not the elimination of feeling, but the elevation of response. Because in the end, emotional mastery isn't about control, it's about liberation. Number 3, respond with intention, not instinct. The cause. Stoic secret to handling criticism. Have you ever been criticized unfairly and instantly felt the urge to strike back? It's natural. But Stoicism teaches us a deeper path. The power not to react impulsively, but to respond with clarity and control. Epictetus said that real strength lies in our ability to stay true to our values, even when life hurls its worst at us. In other words, no matter how turbulent the storm, we can still choose our course. But how? Begin by defining your purpose. Not just casually thinking about it, but truly reflecting on what anchors you when the world feels unstable. Write it down, sit with it. Ask yourself, what do I truly want to stand for even when no one is watching? Once you find that inner compass, criticism loses its sting. Why? Because you're no longer living for approval. You're living with intention. Let's be honest. People will misunderstand you. They may insult you, project their pain onto you, or question your decisions. But you hold the power to ask, is this worth my peace? Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, you're doing more than keeping calm. You're strengthening your mental foundation. It's like building emotional muscle through small daily exercises. Setting goals and completing them. Journaling your thoughts to notice patterns, practicing the pause before you speak. This is how you train the mind, not to shut out emotion, but to guide it. Imagine a craftsman who wakes each day not for praise, but for the love of mastery. He's not swayed by applause or criticism. His focus is internal. That's the Stoic way. Live from the inside out, not the outside in. Guarding your mind means protecting your internal space. Would you let someone dump garbage in your living room? Then why allow negativity, gossip, or pointless drama into your mental world? Feed your mind the right input. Read things that expand you. Speak with people who elevate your thinking. Practice, mindfulness, not just as a buzzword but as a discipline. It creates space between trigger and response, and in that space, you reclaim your freedom. Remember, your emotions aren't enemies, they are messengers. Learn to listen, not obey. Don't bury them, understand them. Use them as fuel, not chains. Every day you train your mind is a day you gain back power. Over time, external chaos begins to feel like background noise, and the real voice that leads your life, it becomes your own. But what happens when criticism hits close to the heart? Let's explore how to transform offense into strength, so that even words meant to hurt can help you rise. Number 4, turn criticism into clarity, building unshakable resilience. What if criticism wasn't something to avoid, but something to transform? Epictetus taught a timeless truth. You don't control what people say or do, but you absolutely control how it lands in your mind. And in a world flooded with opinions, that control is more valuable than ever. People will project their insecurities, frustrations, and judgments onto you. So when someone criticizes you, stop and ask, is this truly about me or about them? You'll be surprised how often the answer brings peace. But Stoicism goes further. It invites you to turn every critique into a mirror, not to attack yourself, but to observe yourself. Could there be a sliver of truth hidden in the harshness? Something that helps you refine who you are? This doesn't mean accepting everything others say. Quite the opposite. It means filtering feedback through the lens of self-awareness. When you know your values, when you act with integrity, you become immune to shallow judgment. Do you remember the last time someone misunderstood your intentions? How did you respond? Patience, one of Stoicism's highest virtues, teaches us that composure is strength. Gentleness, often mistaken for weakness, is actually a power that builds bridges. Responding with calm, not combat, sets you apart in a reactive world. Think of the great sages, teachers, even ascetics. How did they handle insult? Not with fire, but with poise. They understood this. Offense only lives where it is welcomed. You're not required to accept every opinion as your truth. Criticism is like mail. You choose which letters to open. Some are trash, some are treasure. If feedback comes from someone you trust, take time to understand it. Ask questions. Create dialogue. Express how you feel and listen with curiosity, not defense. This turns tension into trust and deepens connection. And what about the critics who simply want to tear you down? Understand this. Hurt people often hurt people, but you don't have to play that game. Every time you rise above petty criticism, you model strength. You show others that calm is not weakness, and silence is not surrender. You become a living example of inner freedom. So the next time you're criticized, ask, what would a wiser version of me do right now? Because the true Stoic response isn't to block the world out, it's to remain unmoved by it. That is resilience, that is freedom, that is power. And sometimes the words that hurt the most are the ones we say to ourselves. Let's now uncover how to break free from the hidden chains of fear and shame. Number 5, release the chains of fear and shame, mastering your inner freedom. Why do we feel hurt, afraid, or ashamed, even before something truly happens? Epictetus offered a profound answer. It's not the situation itself, but our interpretation of it that gives rise to suffering. Take a moment and reflect. When someone criticizes or insults you, is it truly their words that wound you, or your internal reaction to those words? Stoic wisdom flips the power dynamic. It reminds us that the real battlefield lies within, and on that battlefield, you are the commander. Freeing yourself from offense doesn't mean pretending you're emotionless. On the contrary, it means becoming aware of your emotional waves without letting them crash over your clarity. You can acknowledge the sting and still choose peace. One powerful technique is cognitive reframing. Instead of immediately thinking, why did they attack me? Ask, is there something in this I can learn from? Is this a mirror showing me a blind spot or simply a shadow of their pain? You're not accepting injustice. You're choosing to grow rather than grieve. For example, imagine a colleague mocks your ambition. You could let it diminish your fire, or you could see it as a chance to reaffirm your values and double down on your vision. Empathy is another key. We never truly know what silent storms others are facing. Could their offense be rooted in fear, insecurity, or misunderstanding? Viewing them through this lens won't excuse poor behavior, but it will protect your soul from corrosion. And perhaps most important of all, forgiveness. Not for their sake, but for your own liberation. Holding on to resentment is like shackling yourself to the past. By forgiving, you're not saying what they did was okay. You're saying what they did no longer controls me. Each time you transform offense into reflection, into growth, you train a deeper part of yourself. You become less shaken, more anchored. This isn't a one-time shift. It's a lifelong discipline. But every moment you choose response over reaction, insight over instinct, you're reinforcing a habit of emotional sovereignty. So ask yourself next time you feel the sting, is this pain guiding me or imprisoning me? The answer might just set you free. When you've made peace with your inner wounds, another test awaits, the one that shows up before the storm. Are you ready to face fear, not when it hits, but before it even arrives? Number 6, prepare your mind before the storm. How Stoics conquer fear and shame. Why does fear hold us back before anything even happens? Why does shame whisper that we're never good enough, even when no one is watching? Epictetus saw the root of it clearly. Fear and shame are not born from reality. They are born from how we perceive it. Fear often arises when we imagine the worst without examining the truth. It's the shadow of uncertainty, not the reality of danger. But what if we stared that shadow in the face? The Stoic approach encourages us not to run from fear, but to study it, to break it into parts. Ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of? What's the worst that could happen? And what would I do if it did? Take public speaking, for instance. Are you really afraid of talking or afraid of judgment? And even if you stumble, so what? Wouldn't your courage to show up still count for more than perfection? Each time you challenge your fears, you chip away at their illusion. They shrink in the light of reason. And what about shame? Shame is often silent, but it's heavy. It clings to our past, to mistakes we wish we could erase. But what if those mistakes were not chains, but chisel marks, shaping the stronger person you are becoming? Stoicism invites you to replace shame with self-honesty. Ask, what did this experience teach me? What can I do differently going forward? You don't have to be proud of everything you've done, but you can be proud of who you are becoming because of it. One of the most healing acts you can offer yourself is self-forgiveness. It's not a free pass, it's a conscious release. It says, I own what happened and I choose to move forward. Building resilience doesn't require grand gestures. It begins with small steps. Speaking up when fear says, stay quiet. Sharing your truth with a trusted friend. Reflecting instead of hiding. And sometimes the most powerful act is to not face it alone. Share your fear. Speak your shame. You'll find you're not the only one. And in that shared vulnerability, strength multiplies. In a world that teaches us to hide our scars, Stoicism teaches us to turn them into wisdom. To carry them not as burdens, but as badges of survival and growth. So the next time fear whispers or shame tightens its grip, pause and ask, is this real or just a story I've been telling myself too long? Then breathe, reframe, rise, and once you stop running from fear, you'll begin to understand the real work. Preparing your mind like a warrior sharpens their blade. before the battle ever begins. Number 7. Strengthen from within. Prepare your mind before life tests. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed? Not because the challenge was too great, but because you weren't mentally ready for it. Epictetus offered us a timeless mental discipline to foresee difficulties before they appear, not to live in fear, but to build fortitude. This ancient practice is known as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. What does this look like in practice? Imagine you're preparing for a major life event, a job interview, a tough conversation, or a presentation. Instead of assuming everything will go smoothly, pause and ask, what might go wrong and how would I handle it? Will the internet crash? Could someone challenge your ideas? Might your nerves shake your voice? Visualizing these possibilities doesn't make you negative. It makes you prepared. Like a soldier who trains before the war begins, not to anticipate doom, but to build unshakable calm. The Stoics weren't doomsayers, they were realists. Life rarely unfolds according to script, and when we cling too tightly to ideal outcomes, we set ourselves up for stress and disappointment. By preparing for detours, we become flexible. Isn't it wiser to bend than to break? Another essential aspect of this practice is to reflect on your inner resources. What past victories have you had? What inner strength have you shown before? What allies or tools are available to you now? Foresight isn't just about seeing problems. It's about remembering your capacity to endure and overcome them. Let's not forget, your past is filled with evidence that you've faced storms and survived. Why would the next one be any different? Mindfulness amplifies this preparation. When you're present and aware, you notice subtle signs of trouble before they escalate. You respond with thoughtfulness instead of panic. You become, in a sense, your own emotional first responder, and perhaps most importantly, reflection. After each challenge, take time to ask, what did I handle well? What surprised me? How will I adapt next time? This process of mental rehearsal plus post-event reflection is how Stoics become emotionally durable. Not because life is easier for them, but because they are prepared, adaptable, and calm in the chaos. So the next time you feel anxious about what may come, ask yourself, what if I prepared for the worst, but hoped for the best, with courage in my heart either way? Preparation alone, though, isn't enough. Because in the heat of life's chaos, your greatest strength may come down to this one ability: restraint, the discipline to act with wisdom, not impulse. Number 8, restrain the rush, acting from wisdom, not whim. Why do we often regret the things we say or do in the heat of the moment? Because we act before we pause. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That one statement holds a world of freedom. What if your life wasn't defined by circumstances, but by how you choose to respond? Self-restraint isn't weakness, it's the highest expression of inner mastery. In a world that rewards speed, self-restraint invites depth. In a culture of reaction, it offers reflection. When someone provokes you, do you strike back or do you ask, is this worthy of my peace? Building self-restraint begins with emotional literacy, the ability to name what you're feeling without being controlled by it. Anger, envy, fear, they are not enemies, they are messengers. But will you listen or obey? Let's say someone offends you. Your ego rises, your heart races, and your instinct is to lash out. But Stoicism teaches us to insert a sacred pause. In that moment, ask, will my reaction create harm or healing? Does this reflect who I truly want to be? It's not about suppressing truth. It's about choosing the right time and tone to express it. Another dimension of restraint is delaying gratification. Isn't it tempting to chase comfort now rather than discipline for later? Whether it's spending money, avoiding hard work, or speaking too quickly, Stoicism calls us to pause and question impulse. Before you act, ask, am I choosing long-term fulfillment or short-term relief? Over time, practicing this pause gives you space to think with your values instead of your fears. You become the driver of your behavior, not the passenger of your emotions. Self-restraint also empowers your relationships. In moments of conflict, it allows you to listen instead of interrupt, to understand rather than attack. It builds bridges where arguments could build walls. And when it comes to communication, the Stoic pause helps you ask, are my words aligned with my intention? Am I speaking to elevate or to dominate? Restraint isn't about silence, it's about thoughtful speech. It's about saying less but meaning more. This discipline extends to decisions. When faced with a tough choice, do you rush or do you reflect? Restraint gives you the time to align action with purpose, so regret doesn't have to follow. And here's the beauty. Self-restraint is a skill. It grows with practice. Through journaling, mindfulness, and daily reflection, you begin to notice patterns. You start catching yourself before you spiral. You begin to act not from emotion but from essence. So next time you feel that urge to speak, to judge, to quit, ask yourself, what would the wisest version of me do right now? Then do that. But even as we learn to restrain ourselves, another truth must be faced. Some things simply cannot be changed. And in those moments, power comes not from resistance, but from graceful acceptance. Number 9, embrace what is, turning resistance into inner power. Why do we suffer so deeply when life doesn't unfold the way we hoped? According to Epictetus and the timeless truths of Stoic philosophy, the answer lies in a profound principle. Live in harmony with nature, not just the stars, trees, or rivers, but with our own true nature and the essential flow of everything around us. But what does it truly mean to live according to nature? It means waking up each day not as a prisoner of circumstance, but as a conscious soul, endowed with reason, capable of choice, and destined to participate in the rhythm of the universe. It's not about passive acceptance, it's about wise alignment. When you align with reality, you no longer waste energy swimming upstream. Instead, you conserve your strength for what you can actually influence. You begin to act not from fear or ego, but from clarity. Pause, reflect. What am I clinging to that no longer serves me? Where am I resisting when I could be listening? That's where transformation begins, in awareness. Self-awareness is the compass that steadies the soul. Through inner inquiry, we shed the expectations society has imposed on us, and we begin to uncover what genuinely brings us peace, what we value, what we stand for, who we really are when the noise fades. And then we begin to see, life is not linear. It is cyclical, like the turning of the earth, like the tide, like the seasons of the soul. There are seasons of growth, of grief, of stillness and rebirth. The Stoic does not fight these transitions. Instead, they bow to the rhythm and ask, how can I honor the season I'm in? To embrace what is to stop demanding certainty in a world built on change. Instead of gripping tightly, the Stoic learns to stand rooted. Through the virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we meet life's chaos with calm and turn obstacles into fuel for growth. And perhaps most powerfully, the Stoic recognizes this truth. We were not made to walk alone. We are threads in the same vast tapestry. To live in accordance with nature is also to serve others, to uplift those who suffer, to offer grace where there is pain, and to speak truth where there is silence. And when we do this, when we stop resisting the messiness of life and begin to walk with it, not against it, something shifts. We declutter our minds, we soften our grip. And from that inner stillness, power rises, because true strength does not shout. True strength listens, adapts, endures, and keeps moving forward with grace. Number 10. The power of simplicity, returning to what really matters. If modern life has taught us anything, it's this: more is never enough. More possessions, more status, more likes, more noise. And yet the more we chase, the more we drift from what truly nourishes the soul. That's why the final Stoic principle is perhaps the most liberating of all. Simplicity is strength. In a world addicted to speed and stimulation, choosing simplicity is a radical act. It means removing the unnecessary so you can return to the essential. Can you imagine how much clearer your life would feel if you no longer carried what you were never meant to hold? Simplicity is not about living with less, it's about living with intention. It's about choosing depth over distraction, meaning over motion, and presence over pressure. It's found in a slow walk at sunrise, in a heartfelt conversation without a screen in sight, in the quiet joy of a life aligned with purpose, not performance. And at the heart of simplicity is gratitude. When we stop demanding more and start appreciating what already is, we move from scarcity to sufficiency, from craving to contentment, from anxiety to peace. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that's weighing me down? What would happen if I let go and trusted that I already have enough? Because often the very peace we're chasing was never out there. It was simply hidden beneath the clutter. And don't forget, simplicity also calls us to honor the earth. The Stoics believed in harmony not just within ourselves, but with the world around us. To live well is to live lightly, to consume mindfully, reduce excess, and recognize that we are part of the ecosystem, not above it. This reverence becomes a way of life, buying only what you truly need, speaking only what's worth saying, doing only what aligns with your deepest values. And finally, simplicity isn't static, it's alive, it evolves, it whispers gently. You don't need to chase the world. You just need to return to yourself. So as this final page of Stoic wisdom turns, let your life become a quiet revolution, not louder, not faster, but clearer, wiser, enough. You've just walked through 10 powerful principles, not just to survive life, but to rise through it, to see clearly, to act with intention, to stand calmly, even as the world trembles. But remember this: Stoicism isn't something you learn and move on. It's something you live, one choice at a time, one pause before reaction, one moment of stillness in chaos, one act of clarity when confusion surrounds you. So the question is, which of these lessons will you carry forward into your next challenge? And how will you show up for life, now that you know how to choose your response? If this message stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Let it take root. Let it guide your next step. And if you're ready to keep growing in wisdom, strength and peace, subscribe to Stoic Havenway. Here we don't chase noise, we seek stillness, we don't react blindly. We rise deliberately, we walk together, calmly, in a chaotic world. Tap subscribe and join a community of thoughtful minds, grounded souls, and seekers of inner power. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, stay stoic. This is Stoic Havenway.